All right. So, what brings you here? And you, David. David's sitting there out of curiosity, no doubt.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I've been on a, blah, blah, blah about, the whole spiritual journey, which for me started in my teens. I'm now in my late 50s. And I guess I've been around various teachers and different kind of paths, bit of Indian stuff, and then more in the actually, and a thread of sort of the Advaita stuff with actually I have had a very close relationship with Isaac Shapiro.
Oh, yeah.
And that sort of drifted apart in the last few years. So,
Okay.
and then it's just being a bit. Somehow recently, I just came across Sailor Bob, and actually, I used to be married to Vish Runt. I don't know if you know him. He's a Perth Satsang teacher, and he and I 25 years ago, Sailor Bob came and gave Satsang in our house in Perth.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so I was familiar with Bob from back then. I just remember him walking in and turning the chair out. Like, we made this beautiful podium because we were sort of, Indian traditional, conditioned. Yeah. And he just walked in and grabbed a chair and just turned it around and sat on the ground, sat at the same level as us. And I thought, that's pretty cool. Anyway, that was many years ago. And I knew he was around. And then recently he just kept coming into my mind. And I thought, he can't possibly still be alive.
He is.
Looked him up. It's like, wow.
He just did a satsang on Sunday.
I know, I saw it. I was there.
Yeah, okay.
So so basically in the last few months I've been a bit involved in his watched his satsangs. I had a meeting online with them, and David there as well.
Yep.
And then somehow I ended up, and I just started watching some of yours, and it just suddenly was like, this is this is what I've been passionate about my whole adult life. And there's something that just keeps still searching. So there's been a lot of clear seeing and a lot of, but I just see myself, I just notice that there's a clear, there's a looking still.
Okay, what's looking?
Well, it's a habit. But it maybe not. Maybe it's not a habit. It's
but hold on. What's looking? What is it that's inquiring? Come on, you know the answer to this one. What is it that's inquiring?
I've got a mental blank. It's just, I mean, all that happens is I just see the back to the awareness.
Yeah. Okay.
So what is it actually inquiring? It's this pattern.
Good. What's the good? What's the pattern?
That which sees itself as separate.
Okay. Is there something that could see itself as separate? Look, let me clarify something, just so there's no confusion. Yeah? There's two things that are happening. There's a busy mind, and then there's just this. Okay? So if you look, it's not difficult to see what it is that's doing the inquiring. Would there be any inquiring in the absence of all thoughts?
No.
No. Good. So what's doing the inquiring?
Yeah, the mind, thoughts, thinking.
Thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Can we both agree that thoughts are dualistic?
Yes.
Okay. That being the case, how could something dualistic ever discover and find something non-dual? How is that even remotely possible? Here we go, right? Here's the dual. Let's call this the mind. Let's assume it can find and discover, finally, non-dual. Yeah. And it seeks and it seeks and it goes to this teacher and that teacher and this Satsang and that reads these books and it's been doing it for 25 odd years and blah, 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 blah. Then one day, miraculously, it finally, discovers non-dual. How many are there?
2, which is dual.
Which is dual. So using the mind as an instrument to try and discover non-dual is a complete, utter waste of time. It's not possible. That's why Bob says the answer's not in the mind. It's not there. Yeah. Now, what can we use the mind for? To understand duality, not non-dual. Yeah. It's at some point that dualistic instrument gets put down. You can only go so far with it. Okay? It's a great instrument to use to discover what you're not. But it's a hopeless instrument to use to discover what you are. Yeah? In the discovery of what you're not, and I'm talking about in the absolute discovery of what you're not, guess what happens to the duality? Or, let me put that more simply, guess what happens to thoughts? They just drop. Yeah. Now, in the absence of all thoughts, what are you left with?
This.
Let me ask you this. Can Susan see?
Well, I guess.
Can Susan hear?
The construct of Susan.
Well, I'm talking about, yeah, of course, Susan. Can Susan see and hear? Is Susan conscious and aware?
Well, no.
Good. Why?
Because it's just an identification with thought constructs.
Who's identifying with the thought constructs? Is it Susan identifying with the thought constructs? Or is Susan the thought constructs?
Yeah, Susan's the thought constructs for sure.
Good, good. Then can Susan identify with the thought constructs?
Well,
is there a Susan there at all?
Well, ultimately, no.
Well, okay. But do you know that?
Not through and through.
Okay, why?
Because of the clouding of the thoughts.
What do the thoughts matter? Thoughts have got nothing to do with you. Zero. The thoughts aren't even about you. When I say you, I don't mean Susan. Like,
okay.
If you understand that Susan is a character, just a character, like a cartoon character, yeah, that gets created with thoughts. Is that cartoon character conscious and aware?
No.
Are you conscious right now?
Yes.
Here you are. You just keep taking, the mistake is you just keep taking this to be Susan. You believe it's Susan that can see, hear, taste, touch, smell. You believe it's Susan that's aware. You believe it's Susan that's aware of the thoughts.
Yeah.
Susan is the thoughts. Susan is the thoughts. If I could create amnesia in you now, right now, yeah, would Susan still be sitting there?
No.
You wouldn't know your name. You wouldn't know your nationality. You wouldn't know what country you're born in. You wouldn't know if you had parents or not. You wouldn't know what you did for a living. Nothing. Certainly wouldn't know your name. So the question would be, would it still be Susan sitting here if I could touch you on the shoulder and I created amnesia in you? Can't, but, right? Good. If you can understand that, then tell me, what's Susan?
A mirage.
Thoughts.
Yeah,
That's
thoughts.
all. Just thoughts. Because if we eliminate them, right, amnesia, Susan disappears. What would be left?
Just this, and awareness. I don't know how.
It's not just this and awareness.
No.
It's all just this.
It all,
You could call it awareness, consciousness, beingness. It's given all sorts of labels. But what's important to see is whether or not Susan is conscious and aware. If you know what Susan is, the answer to that question is simple. Susan can't be conscious and Susan can't be aware. Now, here's the paradox. Here's the paradox. Are you conscious right now? Okay. Yeah. This you've been taking to be Susan your whole life. Started around the age of 2.
Yeah.
When we start to learn language. Yeah. Learn your name. You're a good girl, a bad girl, whatever. Right? And just gradually, the conditioning gradually gets piled upon. Yeah. And we get to here as an adult in our late 50s, still believing that this that is sitting here is Susan. Now I just need to try and get you to see that it's not possible that this that's sitting here could possibly be a Susan. Because if I create amnesia in you, Susan disappears. What have we done? We've just eliminated thoughts. All we've done is eliminate the backstory, the memory. The closest I ever got, Susan, to discovering who or what I am as an apparent personal self was, holy shit, I am memory. Please tell me I'm more than that. No, I am memory. And then what we do, we bring the past, the memory. This is insane what we do. Bring the past into the present and call that me. Now, if we don't bring the past into the present, who's sitting here now? Amnesia, right? If we don't bring the past into the present, it's not like we fall off the chair dead, is it?
No.
Yeah. So it's a case of misidentification.
And that's crystal clear.
Okay. What are you not getting then?
Well, in this moment, that's crystal clear.
Okay. Can Susan feel?
No.
She can't feel.
When you start
is there feeling happening? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or sensating. Let's call it just sensating. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Is it Susan experiencing the sensating? Sorry, David. I'll get back to you.
Is it Susan? What? Sorry, I missed.
Experiencing the sensating, the sensing.
No, Susan's just a bunch of ideas, and it can't think or, well, can't
Susan
even think.
can't think. Susan
No.
is the thinking. Susan
Yeah.
is the thinking.
Yeah.
Susan can't think.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, hadn't seen that before.
Good.
Susan can't think.
Good.
Yeah.
Now this is important, you know, and I've said it a few times. Is Susan aware?
No.
I'll bet, yeah, up until now, you've believed it's Susan that's aware of the thoughts. True? Up till now.
Yeah, what I would call me or I.
Correct.
Yeah, the personal
Correct.
I.
Me,
Yeah.
Susan, I'm aware of the thoughts.
Mm.
And they're driving me crazy. I just wish I could stop the thinking, blah, blah, blah.
Mm.
That'd be the story. That'd be the mind story. Yeah.
Mm. I've watched you saying this to other people.
Well, that's okay. That's
yeah,
but that's all right. But
when you get put on the spot yourself, it's a different.
Well, because now it's real. It's pertinent to you and where you are and how you're seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just trying to teach you a new way of seeing, knowing, understanding. See, I don't call anything I do here, I don't call it spiritual. And I never have.
Mm.
I never have. Yeah. This is a fact-finding mission. That's all it is.
Mm.
That's all it is. Yeah. And ultimately, what are we seeking? Only truth.
Yeah.
Just the truth from our own direct experience, just the truth. If you're in this for anything else other than just that, you'll stay stuck in this.
Yeah.
Because people do this because they want to feel better or they want to feel joy and happiness. Where's this joy and happiness? People keep talking about like that'd be a me trying to, or the mind trying to grasp that. And if that could have been grasped, you'd have grasped it a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
Because you've been on this path for a long time.
Yeah.
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 Sorry, David, did you want to say something? Cut you off.
Oh, I guess it's an analogy, but it may not be an appropriate one. But you come to your iPad and it's asleep, and you hit the start button and you hear a lot of clicking and grinding, and it's running a program, and suddenly there's this thing. And it's a bit like when I wake up in the morning. When I wake up, the first thing is there isn't a David there. And
Correct.
I feel, I watch.
Yeah.
I'm able to sit back from it and watch the program running and watch what did I go to sleep with that I said I had to worry about first thing in the morning without doing it so mechanistically. Perfect. But you see the memories and all of that run, and then, oh, that's right, that's who I am.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
And now, if you woke in a state of amnesia, can you imagine what that would be like?
Yeah. You'd be
you
totally...
can only imagine. Yeah.
It'd be a blissful experience of rediscovering everything.
Maybe.
Wood and timber and air and birds outside wouldn't have labels.
Because it's an analogy, you generally find that most people, if they woke in a state of amnesia, their primary concern would be, who am I? Where am I? So there'd still be a concern. Who am I? Yeah. So it's not quite. Yeah. But I get where you're going. Yeah. But it's all conditioning. It's all thoughts. It's all mind. And every word that gets used as a thought, I mean, every word that gets used as a thought is a label that's supposed to represent something, a symbol that's supposed to represent something. But the symbol is never the actual. The word tree is not the tree, is it? It's the word tree. Yeah. But the mind takes the word tree to be the tree.
Yeah.
Got to see this. Yeah. It's amazing what this creates. Could only have been flung together by a God, if you like. I don't very often use that word, but or some omnipotent, amazing, because it's incredible. That iPad that you're looking at, that arose in somebody's mind as an idea once, just arose.
Mm.
Yeah, Einstein, E equals mc squared, just boom. Yeah, and I'm assuming. See, here's what I think's happened, Susan, and correct me if you think I'm wrong. You know that thoughts just happen, right?
Yeah.
You know you can't stop them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's that understanding. Thoughts just happen. Yeah. But here's what you've been doing. Yep. Thoughts just happen. And there's me that has personal thoughts about the thoughts that are just happening. That's, yeah. Now, these two over here, yeah, this me and the apparent personal thoughts all belong in there.
Yeah.
All of it. All of it. Yeah. As a personal self, try not to think. You discover you can't.
Mm.
As an apparent personal self, you discover you can't do that. Yeah. So there's thoughts that just happen, and then there's me and my personal thoughts. Yeah. And this me character, you haven't seen yet. Not properly. Not properly.
No.
Yeah. Because this me character and the apparent personal thoughts that the me character is having is all in there. All of it is being produced and created by this one mind, if you like.
Mm.
Now, you're aware of the mind, right?
Yeah.
How can you be that?
Yeah.
How can you be that? Seriously. We take the mind personally. Oh, it's talking about me. These are my thoughts. Says what? The mind.
Mm.
So there's two things that are happening. There's a busy mind and just this. Now, where you've been living most of your life is in the mind. That's where all human beings do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing we haven't killed ourselves off, the human race, because everyone's got a different story. Yes. Everyone's got a different story. There's an agreed upon reality. Okay. Be an agreed upon reality. But everyone's walking around with a different story going on.
Mm.
And everyone's believing their story is reality. Well, there's 8 billion people on the planet. Which one is the reality? Which story is the reality? None of them. None of them. Yeah. Like you understand that the mind is dualistic, yeah?
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
So it's thoughts that create 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's thoughts that create me here and you there. Thoughts do that. In the absence of all thoughts, there'd be no me here or you there. It'd just be silence. You got that?
Yep.
It would be, wouldn't it? Just
Yep.
silence. Then the mind
Yep.
starts to activate again, like David was saying when he wakes up in the morning.
Mm.
Yeah, there's an apparent absence of personal self initially.
Mm.
Then what happens? Then the waking dream kicks in again. What does that mean? It just means thoughts start to stir again.
Yeah.
Just like they stir when you're asleep in a sleeping dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could come to you in your sleeping dream, your little character in the sleeping dream. I could come to that character and say, hey, that building over there, those people over there, I know you believe they're real, But not only are they not real, nor are you. Can you imagine what the personal character in the dream would say to me? It would say to me, you're insane. Can't you see those people? Can't you see that building? Can't you see me? The personal character would say. Now, when do you know the truth of the content of that dream? David, when you wake up in the morning. When you wake, yeah? Oh, shit, thank God that was a dream, we might say, for argument's sake, yeah? Then what happens? And we don't notice it. David's onto it. We don't notice it. Then the waking dream kicks in. Now I'm a person, and there's a building over there, and people over there, and it's the waking dream kicks in. Now I'm here trying to convince you this is all a dream. But I'm not trying to convince Susan. If you were having a nightmare, I was awake, yeah? And you were having a nightmare. No? And I went over to you, and I'm trying to wake you. Am I trying to awaken the character in the dream?
No.
No. So am I trying to awaken this character, Susan character, now?
It's not
waste
possible.
of time. It's not possible. Correct. It's not possible. Because the Susan character is flung together by thoughts, which in the absence of them, the Susan character disappears. Amnesia. Just disappears. But something remains. Yeah? And this something that remains, you've just been calling Susan your whole life. And you're convinced of it. Because I'll bet you could probably say to me, look, I have a pretty good understanding of this. I get it. I get it. However, in the final analysis, it still feels like Susan's here.
Yeah. And I've heard you say that, and it does.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here right now going, it feels like Susan's here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the question is, can Susan feel? We touched on that earlier.
Yeah. No. Susan
Can you
can't.
feel? Good. Susan can't feel. Can you feel a Susan?
Oh. Well, you can't really, no, because
you can't.
It's not even a thing.
Not correct. Not unless you're telling me you can feel a thought.
Yeah.
God only knows what a thought would feel like. Like, talk about metaphysics. Like,
yeah.
So Susan can't feel, and you can't feel a Susan. So this that is sitting here, that can feel or sensate, if you like, can't be Susan. Can't be. This is just logic. It's just logic. Yeah.
Well, what just comes up is there's nothing happening.
Well, there's plenty happening. What's not happening is what mind is saying is happening. That's not happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not happening. It's a story.
It's a story.
It's the greatest storyteller. It's incredible. It's just a story. About what? This is a good question. What's the story about?
Well, it's self-referencing.
The story's about the story.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's why we can't stop it. It's just going. It's just going. Yeah. Problem is we identify with it. This that's sitting here, this that is conscious, this that is awake here now, is identifying with the story. And it's this I'm trying to awaken, not the character. This. If waking is going to occur, where are you going to be when it happens?
here.
Hello, so it's this I'm trying to awaken. Not the character, it's a waste of time. And from the very beginning of this conversation, I haven't been speaking to the character. It'd be a waste of time. Imagine me speaking to Donald Duck, an animated cartoon character, and I'm trying to convince Donald Duck he's not real. And he's saying, what are you talking about? I've got a beak, I've got hands, I've got feet, I'm moving, I can speak. And I say to Donald Duck, you're not even the speaker. Something's speaking through you. And Donald Duck goes, you're crazy. What are you talking about? Look, I'm real. I'm here. I just described the me.